The movie begins in early 16th century, somewhere in the Central American jungle. A tapir rushes desperately through the forest, before being caught in a tripwire trap, and impaled on a swinging spiked limb. The young hunter Jaguar Paw ends the tapir's suffering, and cheerfully distributes its internal organs between his fellow hunters Curl Nose, Smoke Frog, and Cocoa Leaf. Blunted is the target of a joke about the tapir's testicles, because he and his wife do not have any children. Flint Sky, the father of Jaguar Paw, gives Blunted some red leaves, and some remedial advice, telling him to use these the next time he and his wife attempt. They are shortly interrupted by a group of migrants walking through the forests, looking depressed. One of them, a fisherman, approaches Jaguar Paw, and explaining that their town has been attacked, and that they are looking for a fresh start. They share food before the group walks on. But Jaguar Paw wants to know more about what occurred. His father silences him, and they return to the village. Just before they return, Flint Sky reminds his son that the refugees were infected with fear, which should not be allowed to spread across the town. Jaguar Paw enters his hut to see his little kid Turtles run, and then greets his very pregnant wife Seven. Blunted goes back to Skyflower, his wife, and her mother begs him to give her grandchildren. Blunted rushes through their hut store a few moments later, holding his privates and crying as he settles into a water trough. Flint Sky collapses into the ground in laughter, realizing that the leaves he had given Blunted were supposed to burn when rubbed. He yells at him, but then starts laughing with the rest of the group. That night, an ancient storyteller describes how man used to get gifts from the forest until the forest no longer had anything to give. The villagers start to play music and dance, but Jaguar Paw's mind wanders until Seven draws him back. The next morning, Jaguar Paw awakens early from a dream, and observes fire torches approaching the town. Warriors emerge, setting fire to homes and capturing everyone inside. Jaguar Paw hides his son and wife in a deep cistern. Before rushing back to the town to help, he kills a robber and fastens a rope to a nearby rock, so they may climb out again. Blunted is restrained while Skyflower is forced into a shelter and likely raped and murdered. A hunter knocks down Jaguar Paw as he tries to free his father. Middle Eye, a raider who was almost murdered by Jaguar Paw, goes by the nickname Almost. Middle Eye holds Flint Sky up and cuts his throat, telling his kid not to be scared. As the Hulkane hunting group brings the captives through the forest, Snake Ink notices Jaguar Paw checking at the cistern as they pass. Snake Ink explores without noticing Seven and Turtles run. He is suspicious of the rope dangling in the hole, so he cuts it. The children of the village are left alone with just the dead for company as all of the other captives are tied together and brought away, tied to each other on long poles. Zero Wolf, the fierce-looking leader of the Hulkanes, reunites with his son Cut Rock, who has suffered a devastating hit to the head, causing his right eye to swell shut. Zero Wolf cuts lines into his brow to relieve blood pressure and restore his son's vision. The group meets up with a second raiding gang that has captured the group of refugees observed the day before. Jaguar Paw recognizes the fishermen as the two groups proceed into the forest, followed by the young children of the two clans. The children come to a standstill as they cross a rushing river. The youngest girl screams that she is going to take care of the kids. That night, while they camp, Zero Wolf gifts his son a big dagger that he claims has killed many men. It symbolizes Cut Rock's manhood, as shown by the successful raid. Blunted laments and vows to take as many prisoners with him to hell if he does not discover his Skyflower. The following day, as they walk along a narrow path that leads to a cliff, Cocoa Leaf, who was badly hurt during the village raid, loses his balance and hangs over the edge. Jaguar Paw and the others are able to pull him back onto the path, and Middle Eye watches curiously as he encourages them to get back on track. He then cuts Cocoa Leaf free from his binds and pushes him over the edge. Zero Wolf warns him for losing one of their captives, despite the fact that Middle Eye claims the man was only dead weight. Nevertheless, Middle Eye dares not argue further and vows not to repeat his actions before walking beside Jaguar Paw, taunting him once more, calling him Almost. The group travels through a deforested landscape, and failed corn harvests as they get closer to civilization, passing through a village where the plague has killed most of the village's residents. A tiny girl, unwell and covered in sores on her hands and face, approaches the group. Snake Ink pushes her away with force, and she looks at Jaguar Paw curiously. She then looks at Snake Ink and foretells their demise, warning of a guy who brings darkness of night and a jaguar, is reborn of muck and earth, and would bring those who will cancel out the sky and scratch you out. She claims that this man is currently with them. The party moves on as she continues to scream out to them. They arrive in a city where laborers, white with excess, toil in limestone quarries, quickly covering buildings with lime. An old guy approaches the prisoners, drooling and pleading for assistance while a worker coughs up blood. A Hulkane kicks him out and tells him to die with honor. After being split off from the men, the female prisoners are sold into slavery. Blunted observes his mother-in-law being rejected at auction because of her advanced age. She is free to travel, and she follows Blunted as far as she can, confidently stroking his arm before closing her eyes on a pillar, helpless. The men are led down a tunnel with images of human sacrifices painted on the walls. Women are escorted to the top of a step pyramid and paint their bodies blue. The victims' heads are flung down the stairs and gathered in baskets at the base. Jaguar observes the first hostage being sacrificed, having his skull and heart torn out. Curl Nose suffers the same fate prior to Jaguar Paw being placed on the sacrificial pedestal. He waits until the high priest quits because of a solar eclipse, seemingly accepting his fate. The priest pleads for the sun to return and announces to the clamoring audience that their god is pleased. The priest and the Mayan elites, however, use the celestial happenings to gain influence over the population and their opponents because they are fully aware that the eclipse will eventually pass. Then he gives Zero Wolf the order to release the other prisoners. Taken to an old ball court, Jaguar Paw and the others are told to run the length in pairs, with the cynical promise of freedom should they reach it to the forest at the finish. As a finisher, Cut Rock rushes to the end of the court, where it is evident that the prisoners are to be used as target practice. The first to flee are Blunted and Smoke Frog, but before Cut Rock finishes them both, Blunted gets pierced in the lower back and Smoke Frog is struck by a big stone. The fisherman is then told to go, along with Jaguar Paw. Middle Eye rips off Jaguar Paw's necklaces and throws it into the earth, a foreboding sign, before fleeing. Since he avoids most of the shots, Snake Ink's arrow hits the fisherman in the skull, and Jaguar Paw pierces his side and collapses close to Blunted. Before Cut Rock can end him, Blunted lunges and grips his leg, giving Jaguar Paw some time. Cut Rock kills Blunted with a single blow to the head, but Jaguar Paw severing the arrowhead in his own body and stabbing Cut Rock in the neck. Cut Rock stumbles, while Jaguar Paw stands, removes the arrow shaft from the side of his body and goes back into the jungle. Zero Wolf rushes to his child and lulls him into eternal sleep. As his son dies in his arms, Zero Wolf grabs his knife and puts his son's necklace in his belt before fleeing after Jaguar Paw, eager to get revenge. The remaining Hulkanes follow him. Jaguar Paw runs across a cornfield and falls into a massive open grave containing the remains of thousands of sacrificial victims. He flees through the decaying bodies to the forest, where he climbs a tree and hides, blood still trickling from his wound. The Hulkanes run beneath him. He looks around when they're gone and sees a black jaguar cub snarling at him. He turns to face the menacing mother jaguar when he hears a louder roar behind him. The Hulkanes stop in the meantime after realizing they can no longer follow Jaguar Paw. With their eyes fixed on the trees, they retreat after one of them spots blood on Middle Eye's shoulder. Soon after, they witness Speaking Wind chasing after Jaguar Paw as he runs through the forest. Speaking Wind gets attacked by the jaguar that was pursuing Jaguar Paw when their paths intersect in a clearing. Just before the others come and kill the jaguar, he is brutally mauled to death. While Snake Ink recalls the unusual child's prophecy and reminds Drunkards 4 that it was predicted, Drunkards 4 dislikes the terrible omen linked with killing the jaguar. Fearful that Jaguar Paw will be found, Zero Wolf hushes them all. The pursuit continues throughout the morning and into the night. A tree that Jaguar Paw had painted blue got approached by Drunkards 4 at one point, and as he gets close, an asp bites his neck. He is advised by Hanging Moss to bleed to death. When the Hulkanes finally close in on Jaguar Paw, he finds himself surrounded and has to jump a tall waterfall. After surviving, he signals to the Hulkanes from the riverbank that this is his forest and that his heirs will carry on hunting there. When Snake Ink advises that they should descend rather than jump, an irritated Zero Wolf stabs him. The first person to jump is Buzzard Hook, but he falls and hits his head on a submerged rock, dying. The others, who have had better luck, keep going after them. Jaguar Paw falls into a muddy sinkhole while running, but he is able to escape. After doing so, he pauses and determines he won't run anymore because he is no longer terrified. Covered in black muck, Jaguar Paw faces the Hulkanes as they approach, throwing a live wasp's hive at them. causing the insects to launch an attack. Swiftly moving towards a creek, Jaguar Paw discovers a poison arrow frog and gathers its venom on several sizable thorns. As thunder blows overhead, he hides in the reeds and runs in a circle, waiting for the hurricanes. In the meantime, Seven throws a stalactite with the rope tied to it to the surface in an attempt to get out of the cistern. She makes it halfway up the rock before falling due to the rock's slippage. She is hardly wounded, but the trauma causes her water to rupture. Jaguar Paw twists a big leaf into a blowgun as the hurricanes pass his hiding spot. With the wasp stings having already debilitated him, he launches his darts at Hanging Moss. Middle Eye is drawn to Hanging Moss's cries as he falls to the ground, and he retreats. Middle Eye and Jaguar Paw square up and lunge at one another, both aiming for the bludgeon that Hanging Moss dropped. As they get closer, Middle Eye throws his own swing, and Jaguar Paw just about dodges it, taking a little knock to the head. Jaguar Paw grabs Hanging Moss hammer and climbs to hit Middle Eye in the temple as he falls victim to his attack. Middle Eye calls him. Almost one final time, Jaguar Paw kills him with a strike to the chin. It immediately starts to rain, and Jaguar Paw rushes to the cistern, knowing it would soon fill with water. Zero Wolf and the surviving hurricanes, Monkey Jaw and Ten Peccary, notice Middle Eye's body and Jaguar Paw running through the jungle. Enraged, Zero Wolf outpaces the other two in his pursuit. Jag Paw arrives at the cistern and finds Seven in childbirth and it filling with water, calling out to him to hurry. Jaguar Paw gets shot by Zero Wolf, but it misses him by a hair, and he flees into the jungle. Prior to continuing their pursuit, Ten Peccary and Monkey Jaw stop at the cistern to see Seven and Turtles run at the bottom. When Jaguar Paw comes to a stop at a particular location in the forest, he turns to face Zero Wolf, who fires an arrow into his shoulder. With his blade out, Jaguar Paw charges at Zero Wolf while still injured and stands there and watches. Zero Wolf hits the taper trap's sharp spikes and gets impaled after failing to see a trip wire. As Monkey Jaw and Ten Peccary come, he passes away. Jaguar Paw is pursued by them to the beach, where he passes out from feeling tired. When they reach him, they come to a standstill and just stare out to sea, where a small fleet of Spanish ships has arrived. In small boats, soldiers and missionaries are rowing to shore. As Jaguar Paw dashes back to the cistern, Monkey Jaw and Ten Peccary approach the coast, entranced. After discovering that Seven has recently given birth, he rescues his family from the cistern. Later, once the rain stops, Turtles run and Seven are followed by Jaguar Paw carrying his newborn kid. Seven wonders if they should go to the Spanish ships as they turn to face them. Instead, Jaguar Paw advises them to head into the wilderness in search of a fresh start.